What's going on, guys? It's Dan Weichart back again with Weichart Media, and this time we got ourselves a sponsor. More on that here in a second. But it looks like Joe Biden and his administration is going to point their investigatory bodies at Elon Musk for, let's cut to the video right quick and you tell me what you think. Jump over here. All right, let's play a little bit of this.
Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security, and should the U.S. and with the tools you have investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
Oh, God,
here
we
go.
go.
That Elon Musk's
You can hear the gears turning, just grinding away.
cooperation and/or
Steam coming out the man's ears.
technical
Makes commentary easy.
relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at.
Interesting.
Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that it's worth being looked at. But that's all I'll say.
Well, good
If your
God
child
Almighty,
has
the man has said plenty as it is right then and there. So, look, that's the initial lead up. I'm going to jump into a couple of things about that momentarily. I'll start with this. First and foremost, that sounds utterly ridiculous. If you guys are new to the channel, maybe you've not heard this aspect of my background, but I have a background in policing. There are two levels of standard that you have to meet to launch an investigation and eventually make an arrest. The chief thing to actually investigate something, and if you're familiar at all with the idea of stop and frisk, this is where this applies, is something called reasonable suspicion. An officer needs to have reasonable suspicion that an individual may be subject to or somehow in connection with a crime being committed in order to launch an investigation. So I find it very strange here. The chief question is, what are you looking into Elon Musk for? What's the reasoning? Now, being fair, I can understand how some people might say, hey, look, we do want to look into somebody who has foreign connections potentially and who controls a massive media company which dictates, essentially is the public square of America nowadays. We would want to look into that for undue influence, I'm sure, or some other compromising feature. I get all that. That said, you need to have an actual reason that there is a wrongdoing, a crime being committed. A business person engaged with foreign nationals to one degree or another in course of his or her business, regardless of what that business is not sufficient reason to launch an investigation. And that is why, if you happen to be liberal and you're tuning in, that is why conservatives are like, what are you guys doing? This is nuts. There's no reasonable suspicion to even begin to look into Elon Musk. None whatsoever. Oh, hey, what's going on there? I just wanted to jump in real quick, smack this little cut in right in the middle of our video. Like I told you at the beginning, we now have a great sponsor. The Weichart Media channel is sponsored by the Badass Patriot Company. You can go slide on over to badasspatriotco.com. I should have a URL popping up here somewhere. And you grab some sweet merch if you wish to support the channel. Head on over there. That's probably one of the best ways you can do it. They're a great company. Happen to know the owners personally. And you'll probably see me over on their channel from time to time. Doing some content for them as well as a web host or personality or however you want to phrase it. Anyway, slide on over to badasspatriotco.com, grab some sweet merch, hats, t-shirts, lots of cool stuff. It's probably one of the best ways you can support the channel. The other great way that you can support the channel is to, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, hit that thumbs up button, give me a like, comment, subscribe, share the video with your friends. That'll be the best way. And I thank you for your time for this brief intermission in our conversation. We'll catch you later. So I definitely wanted to hop on here and take some time to actually go through it, because what is referenced here is a couple of things. Firstly, the reporter asks about Elon Musk's foreign connections and foreign interests in Twitter specifically. And then Joe Biden gets into the aspect of investigating him for some purpose. So let me jump over. I started doing some digging on the subject, and so I think I have us a good collection of articles that are not conservative by any stretch of the imagination, where we can go through and we can actually see some key information about this. And you can frankly, I think you can start to see why this is clearly a political hit job, in my opinion. So here we go. So let me jump over to this right, y'all. All right. So first off, the Saudis are the second largest investors in Twitter after Musk's takeover. So Kingdom Holding Company and the private office of Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, so it's one of the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, will maintain their stake in Twitter. Now, what does that exactly mean? So let's come down here. So first, I will draw your attention right here. So after Elon Musk purchased Twitter, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, along with his holding company, KHC, will retain their shares in Twitter as shareholders. We'll get to that later. But they're going to hold on to what is essentially $1.89 billion of worth in that company, making them the second largest owner. Now, do some mental math if you remember, and I'll touch on to it, but as you scroll down here, before I even get into it, firstly, the idea that this connection with the Saudis is somehow detrimental or somehow creating undue influence on Elon Musk seems to, even by this article, be a bit untenable. Given that bin Talal is calling Elon Musk, chief twit right out of the gate about his purchase of Twitter. If you recall, during the actual purchase of Twitter, this same individual, bin Talal, suggested that the posted market value of Twitter was way below the intrinsic value. And Elon Musk challenged him, saying, hey, what do you think the actual value of Twitter is? Which is has a whole separate implication. So we'll scroll down a wee bit. Here's another thing to point out. So let's compare the numbers. 1.89 billion in worth of holding compared to the overall 44 billion that was required in that acquisition. Elon Musk still holds a substantially large chunk of Twitter. It does not seem to be that a mere 1.89 billion, though that is certainly a lot to people like you and me, in the grand scheme of a multinational company, a multi-billion-dollar company, and individuals who themselves are worth tens of billions of dollars, it's not that much influence comparatively. Now, as we scroll down through, I want to jump over here. So there are some other questions about how Elon Musk financed the purchase of Twitter. So as we scroll down, so firstly, he wanted to put up his own money. So he was trying to avoid putting up his own personal money. And so as a quick aside for folks who don't know, a lot of time when you hear somebody's net worth being referred to as X amount of dollars, it doesn't mean that they have X amount of dollars sitting in the bank account ready to go. In the case of Elon Musk, when we say that he's worth however many billions of dollars he is worth, I think it's like over 200 or something crazy like that. It's not as though Elon Musk has billions of dollars or $200 billion sitting in a bank account. Now, according to this, he seems to have had at least 12 and some change floating around that he could quickly utilize for this acquisition. So he initially thought to purchase it with $12 billion of his personal money, not dipping into, as far as I can read this, not dipping into what he actually owns, the assets. So as we scroll down, he ran into some challenges with that because people weren't willing to finance with him initially on that. So he ended up actually fronting $27 billion of his own personal money. And he did so by coughing up some of his shares or getting a loan backed by some of his shares in Twitter. Forbes down here says he's worth $220 billion, and this is as of 2022, so maybe it's a little bit more by now. But at the time of acquisition, this is what we're looking at. And he previously already owned 9.6% of Twitter prior to the actual buyout. Now, I'm pointing all this out. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at people, but follow me here. Musk himself puts up personally $27 billion. That's before we get into any type of financing that he gets into, which this article, I believe, will touch on. So he's already up $27 billion. Again, keep in mind that the Saudi prince, along with KHC, hold 1.89. And I believe that settlement was as a result of that individual did not want to give up his shares in Twitter because of what he saw its intrinsic value, even though it's clear the two didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of politics. So as we jump down, he also got $5.2 billion. Elon got $5.2 billion from investment groups and other large funds, including Larry Ellison, the co-founder of software company, and blah, 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 blah. He also got some from Qatar Holding, which is controlled by Qatar's sovereign wealth fund, and so forth. And then, so here's the key thing: Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, the Saudi in question, who is then the chief guy over KHC, the holding company, transferred his shares of Twitter, 35 million shares of Twitter, to Elon Musk for ownership. In exchange, those contributors will become Twitter shareholders. Shareholders. We'll hang that into our head for a second. So, and again, there's another $13 billion worth is backed by bank loans, and they list them all here. So $27 or so billion worth of Elon Musk's own money, plus another $5 billion from the individuals I just listed, along with another $13 billion from independent loans that Elon got. So as you scroll down, the loans that Elon got are guaranteed by Twitter, and it is the company, not Musk himself, which will assume financial responsibility to pay them back. Another key thing. So the chief thing that I'm driving at is that Elon Musk himself personally put up $27 billion. The Saudis only hold about $1.89 billion in the total worth of Twitter. That they don't hold ownership. They don't have voting rights and all that stuff. And they may have some voting rights, but they don't hold ownership the same way that Musk does. He's the sole owner. They transferred all their shares to him. They are, however, a shareholder. Right? So as a shareholder, what that means is that Twitter has a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders to act in a manner that is financially beneficial to those shareholders. What that means is, so long as Musk is making financially sound decisions for the company, he is fulfilling his fiduciary responsibility to his shareholders. So in a sense, you could say, okay, well, Musk is beholden to these individuals to do their bidding. No, he's not. He's beholden to make them money. So whatever Musk does with Twitter, so long as he does it in a manner that is sufficient to actually make people money or make the shareholders money, he's fulfilling his fiduciary responsibility. And that's the key thing to bring here. So firstly, let us recap. Again, 27 and some change $billion of Musk's own money goes into Twitter. Another $15 billion comes from loans secured from a couple of different Qatar funds and things like that, and another $5 billion from some more bank loans down the way, all of which backed by Twitter, of which KHC, the Saudi holding company, or I think it's the Kingdom holding company, and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia hold $1.89 billion. In the grand scheme of the 44 and some change $1 billion that it took to purchase Twitter, and the fact that the Saudis are simply shareholders to whom Elon Musk is fiduciarily responsible. And I don't know if it's Elon Musk personally is fiduciarily responsible or if it's Twitter has that responsibility to them. Regardless, one of those two entities, either Elon Musk himself or Twitter as a company, has a fiduciary responsibility to all of its shareholders, but to include KHC, to act in their financial best interest. It's not necessarily to do their bidding. I'm sure that the guy can call Elon Musk and give him an earful. But given that they already don't have a good relationship, there seems to have been some back and forth to begin with. They at least view each other as a pure business relationship. The idea that these two have some sort of undue influence on the other, or the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has some undue influence on Elon Musk, is kind of ridiculous. And frankly, it took me 20 minutes to look this stuff up. And thankfully, I have my complaints about Al Jazeera, generally speaking, and some of its biases in other areas. But I picked it specifically because it's not like a conservative thing. Sure, I let off with from the New York Post, which infamously dropped the Hunter Biden laptop story. Regardless, I wanted to jump into something that's certainly not a conservative paper, conservative publication, or even independent media publication, let's call it. This is straight from mainstream media type research. You can look this stuff up, found it in like 10, 15 minutes, clarifies this stuff. You have a little bit of thinking brain. Once you lay this stuff out and you consider what is being implied here, it starts to seem pretty clear that Joe Biden sicking his investigatory bodies, probably the DOJ, on Elon Musk in any way, shape, or form, absent, this is the key thing, absent some reasonable suspicion that there's some ill goings on, it's pretty clearly a political hit job, guys. I mean, come on. It doesn't really get much cleaner than that. Or I guess much dirtier than that. It's pretty cut and dry here. There's not many things on planet Earth that are kind of this easy to break out. And look, I'm open to being wrong. This is a developing story. Maybe some additional reporting will come out that'll dig up something that's of concern. But given the initial look, it just doesn't seem to be the case. Sorry.